custom here on Downloadable Content to devote at least one episode in each season to an open discussion, where our panel can talk about anything they want related to video games. Doesn't matter what. It could be what games they're playing, it could be an industry issue, anything related to video games. And it always makes for an interesting time. Well, at least it does for me, because I have no idea what the panel's going to bring up. So listen in, and join us on this free play episode next on Downloadable Content. To another fun-filled episode of DLC. As usual, I am Brian, and I am joined this time by Veronica.
Hey.
And Spencer, welcome back.
Howdy.
Yes, we are going to be discussing anything. I don't have any clue as to what our panel is going to be talking about, but before we dive in, just want to let everyone know that downloadable content can be found on our website, dlcpodcast.com. You can also check out upcoming recordings. Let us know if you want to be in on an episode, or you can send us ideas for future episodes just by clicking the feedback button, shooting us an email or a message, and we'll have a look. All episodes can also be found on Apple Podcasts, aka iTunes. They can be found on YouTube, and they can also be found on Spotify. So there's all the different ways to get downloadable content into your ears. I think that covers it for the opening spiel, so we're just going to dive right in. And since we have the three of us, I am going to let fate decide. I know it's Spencer's favorite method. I'm going to roll a d4.
Oh, we can't use your phone? That's the best way.
Yes. yeah. Everyone's put your finger on my phone from miles away, and we'll just do that. So I'm gonna get a D4 here. Use my.
That was a nifty little app, though.
Yes, I love that app. It's like, all right, we're just gonna randomize shit. But today it's gonna be dice. We'll throw out my trusty D4. So 1 will be myself, 2 will be Veronica, 3 will be Spencer, and 4 will be a roll again. And it's a roll again. This time it is a 2. Veronica, start us off.
Okay.
You're on.
I hope my topic won't be too much of a bummer. I'm going to try to end it at least positively. But I'm going to talk about an experience that I've been having lately, which is the disappointment of finding a game too late. Where I've had a variety of classic games that I have gone to play for the first time. Things that are iconic, that are classic, that changed the genres. And not being able to find the kind of joy in them that is typical, and that I would think I would, because most of these are things that I knew I would enjoy. The biggest example, and the most recent, was Wind Waker, which I had played for the first time. And I couldn't find the joy in it that I typically do in playing a Zelda game. Because I'm a huge fan of the series. And
yeah, I guess it's tattooed on your arm.
Absolutely. Like, I'm a huge fan of it. The 3D and the 2Ds. And it just didn't hit for me the way I thought it would. I will. This is more than just Wind Waker. I'm going to go into other things as well. Before I go into any of that, I'll ask: have either of you had this kind of phenomenon?
Spencer, you first.
I would say no. I genuinely I don't know how to describe this ability, but I'm very good at understanding a game's pros based on when it came out and being able to differentiate between like when I'm experiencing it in terms of like what year it is now versus what year it came out and what different other kind of games were out then, what actually was influencing the market, all those era level properties that a lot of people have trouble pulling themselves back to that time frame. And part of that is I'm old, so I've actually lived through all these experiences. I can actually draw back from memory.
I'm old too.
And part of it is just I don't know, growing up didn't have the opportunity to play a lot of games that came out in their entirety, because most of the time it was like renting them. We would get one game for Christmas and one game for our birthday, and then everything else was either like borrowing it from a friend or renting it and not being able to play the full experience because you only have so much time and all the flaws in the rental system.
How about you, Brian?
So, I don't know. It's similar. It's not necessarily a lack of joy, but there is it doesn't happen often, but there's kind of a sense that I played a game too late because I have when I'll use an example. So Halo, the original Halo. That was a groundbreaking game in the first-person shooter genre. It did a lot of things that future first-person shooters have done, they've taken from Halo, and have since done better. So what I'm trying to say is so I've played games, first-person shooters that came out after Halo that does things that Halo did, but better. So, I played the BioShock series before I played Halo. I didn't play Halo until it came out, the remastered version came out on the 360 for its 10th anniversary. So yeah, 10 years after the original Halo came out, but since then I played other first-person shooters that were amazing. And when I played Halo for the first time, it sort of felt clunky in comparison. I knew this was a groundbreaking game for FPSs. And I could see where a series like BioShock took inspiration and influence from in mechanics and gameplay. But I realized while playing Halo that I have played better games.
Yep.
They refined the formula later on.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you remember when you did the Metal Gear Solid podcast, and I was gonna be a guest on it, and I was gonna play the game fresh because I'd never played it, and I started and I couldn't get through the game because of how much everything afterwards had refined the formula, that the original, that the first Metal Gear felt like a slog. But I know that's because every other game stole from it.
And improved on it.
I know. Yeah, exactly. And improved on it, which made the original hard to get through. That sounds like what you're talking about, right? Yeah.
So it's not really, it's not.
And I regret that's one of the only times I've dropped out of a podcast.
I know. But so not necessarily feeling exactly the way that you have felt, in your original statement there with Wind Waker, but I still enjoyed Halo. It's just I felt like had I played Halo, because Halo was it was a console exclusive, was to the original Xbox, which I never owned. I feel like had I played Halo when it came out, I would have appreciated it better, and therefore would have seen the progression of other first-person shooters that came after it, as opposed to seeing the polish originally, and then years later seeing the original.
It's kind of the reason that when I get into a new series, I want to start at the beginning. You've seen me do this for TV stuff. I do the same thing for video games. Because I can appreciate seeing how it evolves over time. But if I start with the most recent, with all of the quality of life and the improvements and the refinement, and then go back to the beginning, I'm just going to be disappointed. So, just spitballing here a little bit, but this is something that I've dealt with for a while and I've thought about. I've actually thought, at one point, I was thinking about going, hey, Brian, would you mind if I did a podcast on this? Because I've had a lot to say. But I'm using it here instead. About reasons for this. And we've already touched on it. We've already touched on the big one, which is when you're a trendsetter that defines a genre or revolutionizes a genre that really hits into the mainstream, everything that comes afterwards is going to... they're going to copy your homework. Like, if you have something that really changes the way that a game is done in that genre, everything around you is... they're not going to ignore it. They're going to take that and they're going to refine it and they're going to try to make it better. And the farther you get away from after that, the more you play something and you go, well, all these things that made it special, that made it different, that gave it its identity, were taken from it. And now, sometimes, it doesn't feel like the game has that strong of an identity, at least mechanically, because everything special about it was stolen. I don't mean stolen in a bad way, but, like, it's been used. Resident Evil 4 is an example. As much as I have issues with the original Resident Evil 4, that game did a lot of stuff that resonated with the industry and was used everywhere afterwards. And, like, going back to it and go, oh, I see this in this game, I see this in this game, I see this in this game. But if you didn't play the stuff right before it, you wouldn't realize, oh wait, none of that was stuff the games were doing at that point, or at least not to that extent. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I feel like I'm talking a lot.
I mean, you always do. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, like, we're talking Resident Evil 4. Like, if Resident Evil 4 was your entry point into the series, you look back on 1, 2, and 3, and look at that gameplay, because, I mean, you've played the original PlayStation trilogy. It's not the third person, over the shoulder, constant action, go go go. It's exploration. It's puzzle solving. So it's
fixed camera.
Yeah, it's fixed camera. So you dive in. Your first game is 4. You try to play the other 3. There's probably going to be a significant chunk of people that go, "What the fuck is this? What the hell gameplay is this?" I mean, even Code Veronica it's still kept to that original formula.
And Zero.
And Zero,
yeah,
yes.
And Zero.
And Zero. I try very hard to wipe Zero from my memory. But,
Rebecca's my favorite character. They couldn't have given her a better game.
That's, just Capcom dealing with AI-controlled players. AI sucks! I said that in my
First
out
of
loud
all,
voice.
at least Ashley's better than Ava from the same era of gaming. So
Yes,
let's give them some credit.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, indeed. But I do see your point. I just, because my entry point into Resident Evil was 2. So there wasn't much history yet. But even then, when I played 2 and 3 and Code Veronica, and then played 1, even then I had I didn't have quite the same strong feeling like, oh, I played this too late. It's just, my thoughts for 1 was, with the voice acting as terrible as it was, how the fuck did this get a second game? But,
It was a lovable B movie.
it was absolutely, God, I wish the Mystery Science Theater crew did video games. I wish they riffed video games, because 1 would have been perfect. That would have been a perfect candidate for it. But, yeah, I mean, I see where you're coming from, just when, I get why you would want to start at the beginning of a series, because, yeah, you're looking at
Which can be daunting.
But something I don't think you explained was, you explained your that sort of little sadness, or you didn't get as much joy from Wind Waker out of it. Why? Because Wind Waker was a unique entry.
Yes. I'm going to pause it for a moment. I will get to Wind Waker. Let me say the other issue, and then I'll talk about how those tie into Wind Waker.
You're going to circle back. Okay, good.
Exactly. Issue number 2. So, first issue is more of a mechanical issue. About how different games, cross-pollinate, they take stuff. Stuff feels less unique, even if this is the game that created it. Issue number 2 is more of the storyline issue, which is, we live in a society. Okay, I'm joking a little bit, but we live on the internet. And through cultural osmosis, if something is big enough, which a lot of these kinds of games are, you're going to learn about that game. You're going to learn that Tetra is Princess Zelda. You're going to know that Aerith dies. You're going to hear people complaining about the time issues in Final Fantasy VIII. Years before you ever play the game. You will typically, even if it's not everything spoiled for you, you will get things that will ruin moments that probably would have meant more to you otherwise. Does that make sense? Does that...
Yes, it is. That reason specifically is why I don't do first playthroughs of games on Twitch.
Mm-hmm. Because people are just going to spoil it for you?
Yeah.
It's amazing how fans just cannot help themselves when they're obsessed with a game and they just want you to relive their experience instead of wanting to experience your first time.
Undertale, what?
And for me, the first Horizon game, when I played Horizon Zero Dawn that was my first attempt that was my first playthrough of a game that was on Twitch. I was streaming it for the first time, and even friends of mine who are watching this while I'm playing it, even though I have no back seating, because at the time it was because I was playing it on PC, and so it was 3 years after it had come out on PS4, it finally hit PC, and so I could finally play it. I didn't have a PS4 yet. So I'm playing it, and poor Wyatt, I love him dearly, but he could not resist inadvertently dropping a spoiler or two, and so I was But yes, I see.
And that is a game you don't want ruined for you.
You absolutely don't want ruined for you. So, yes, I mean it is, and unfortunately, to your point, Veronica, we do live the internet exists, which means as soon as a piece of media, any piece of media hits the internet, it's all right, now I have to navigate the minefield of social media to avoid that. I mean, that's why muted words and phrases and things like that on places like Tumblr and Blue Sky are great. Because it's this is a game I want to play. I'm just going to go into my settings and everything that has these tags in it, please block. Because I do not want to see a damn thing about the game.
Yeah. But between those two issues, one mechanically and one story, that can really be a bummer for a lot of games. So let's circle back to Wind Waker. I really need to say this. Wind Waker is a gorgeous game. Its aesthetics still look like $1 million. It is the most expressive Link we have ever gotten in the series. I'm including Breath of the Wild, the Wild era in here. Wind Waker, I've never seen a Link that you don't need words to see what that boy is saying. And those are great. I adore Tetra. She was a great character before they sidelined her. But mechanically, I don't know if it's because the series, I don't know if it's because the series was able to improve over time. I don't remember Twilight Princess being exceptionally more refined, but I didn't find anything mechanically interesting when it came to the items or the way any puzzles or anything were done. There was nothing that was really... Basically, there was nothing mechanically that stood out. And all of the big storyline stuff in the game got spoiled over 20 years. Like, I knew that Tetra was Zelda. I knew that Ganon was an older daddy figure who you could kind of read as regretting at least somewhat what went on. Like, I saw a bunch of the stuff, like, I saw a bunch of the storyline moments that probably would have hit for me if I didn't have 20 years of hearing about the game since then. And I suppose that's a third issue I didn't actually bring up of, this is the issue that I know I did to you, Brian, and I am sorry. The hype. When everyone you know hypes a game for decades, and then you go to play it, and no matter how good that game is, how can you live up to hearing something for that long? How does anything live up to that? I'm sorry.
Hey, yeah, you know, it is a perfectly natural and normal thing to be excited about a game and tell your friends about it. Admittedly, 20 years is a bit long to maintain that hype, but Undertale has not been out that long, so...
No, it has not.
But
Wind Waker has.
Wind Waker has, and yeah, I mean, it was a GameCube game, so it has aged, and there have been a bunch of canonical main entry games since. So yeah.
And I will touch on a couple other games that I've had similar things without going too in depth, but we mentioned it a little while ago. Resident Evil 4, though that was one where I think my own personal biases on what the series should be also affected that.
I mean, yes.
You don't say.
Yeah, I know. Hey, I'm admitting to it. Self-awareness.
Brian, you should probably link the RE4 episode in the show notes so people can get context what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Enjoy that 4-hour slog. Enjoy.
If you want some Ronnie rants, you know, fire that one up.
Other games, though, because it's not just those. Braid. Braid is a huge one for me.
I haven't played it. I have it in my Steam library, but I haven't played it.
Wow, really? You have a game in your giant Steam library, Brian? I'm shocked.
Wow, I know. The horror, you know.
Journey. Journey's one.
I know of it. I haven't played it.
Yeah. The original Phantasy Star.
Which only played 4.
Yeah, and that it's same. That was the thing. I'd only played 4, and I went back and went, wow, I can see why this was important, but I'm not enjoying this at all. And then I mentioned Metal Gear Solid, which was the only one of the games that I'm talking about right now that I never even was able to get to the end of.
Although there's one series that doesn't have that problem, Dragon Quest.
But I will bring up one more game before I move on, and that is not a game that I played and was disappointed by. A game I have specifically not played yet because I'm worried I'm going to have this experience. Mother 3. I adore Earthbound. But I feel like if I played Earthbound today, I would absolutely be feeling this. If I played it right now and had never played it during my childhood, I feel like I would absolutely be disappointed by it. And I'm terrified. I mean, terrified's a hyperbolic word, but I'm worried that I'm going to feel that way when I end up playing Mother 3. I've heard so much about it over the years. I've heard so much hype about it. Like, I'm worried I'm going to be disappointed by that game, and it's why it's been on my list forever, and I don't know if I'll ever get to it. Because
if you don't like Earthbound, that's just a skill issue. Let's be honest. That game is so influential it's so influential for a reason. Like to me, it's like RE4 in that sense, where it's like you can have your guffaws with, you know, gameplay or UI or story or whatever, but like to be like, oh, this isn't a good game is like that is just genuinely a skill issue. Like, just play the fucking game, dog. Like, what are we doing?
Wind Waker is Wind Waker is an excellent game. Resident Evil 4 is an excellent game. Like, the disappointment I'm feeling and the issue of finding the joy I find in it isn't whether the game is good or not. It's when pieces of the when hype or pieces of the story have set up expectations and, you know, given you information that can make stuff be less enjoyable. It just, I don't know. I was fully expecting to be told that I was the only one who felt this way, so...
No, if anything, too many people feel that way, and they allow hype and preset expectations to dictate their gameplay experience rather than blank slating and going in fresh and just allowing the game to do the talking rather than you as the player putting a foundation that you're expecting the game to follow, and then when it breaks from that foundation, then you're automatically judging it negatively instead of appreciating what it's doing based on the era that it comes from or the franchise that it is building off of or establishing. It's obviously difficult because so many people struggle with this problem with when playing retro, and there are people that don't play retro because of that entirety, and they just only play games when it comes out fresh because they don't want to have to deal with that.
I mean, I grew up with retro, and I play a lot of them. This isn't an issue I have for all older games. It typically comes from something that's big and influential and has been hyped. And I honestly think the hype is the least of my issues. It is more because I'm such a story-based person when it comes to stuff. That is a huge part of what draws me to it. And when I know 90% of what's going to happen, and I don't get to experience any of those moments where I don't feel any tension because I already know what's going to occur, or I know what the reveal is. I know what I'm going to get from doing this dungeon, and I know where, like, it's... That, I think, gets me more. So when I go into an older retro game that got a bit less tension, I don't really have that issue because it's fresh regardless. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. I mean, it's also why... So I know, because of just how I don't have time to play the latest and greatest. I mean, there are games that come out now that I know that I am interested in playing, and I will buy those games, and then they'll sit on my hoard forever until the stars align and I finally get around to it. But knowing, because of just that is how I get to my games, I deliberately make the effort to avoid any and all hype in the lead up to that game. I don't look at trailers. I don't read previews. I don't read reviews. I try very hard to minimize my exposure to that game for that exact reason, because story and narrative is such a huge component for me as well in a lot of games that I play, and so I will do the things that I need to. Like, if I'm reading a video game magazine and I see a review for the game that I want to play, I will skip right over it. I do not want my interpretations or my enjoyment of the game inadvertently biased based on game reviews, professional reviews, whatever. And especially in this era of social media and review bombing, where nuance no longer exists in any comment section. You either love the game and you have assumed its identity and you have made it your entire personality, or you hate this game, and if you are somebody who loves this game, you deserve to be put in front of a firing squad and shot. Because internet comment sections are full of nuance. You know that.
Absolutely, entirely reasonable.
Absolutely. There's no unhinged takes there.
I'm basically done. I did want to end this with part of this, me talking about this, is going, I am still trying to find the joy, though. I don't want to not enjoy these games. Like, Wind Waker was wonderful, and I'm hoping I will be able to come back and play it again at some point and maybe enjoy it more. Maybe now that I have burned the hype off and I've experienced it once myself, maybe when I come back in 5 or 10 years and I play it again, I'll have a blast. Because I've gotten that first playthrough done. But I'm somebody who, Brian, you know, I try to find the good in whatever I play, and Resident Evil 4 being an exception. I try to find the good in whatever I play, and I want that here. And I hope someday I'll be able to come back on this and just talk about how much I loved Mother 3. Because I finally got to it, and I was able to get past these expectations and find that gem that I know is there. Okay, I think we're ready to move on.
You think you're ready to move on? All right. You know, since we're talking about older games, I think we're gonna dovetail into Spencer. On
yeah,
that.
We're talking about GameCube. Wind Waker.
Yeah, it does tie in pretty well, because I've been playing 2 separate Wii games as my new to me game, as well as the game that I revisit for whatever purpose that specific game has. Usually I will not 100% a game on a first playthrough or even attempt to. I usually will just play the game, do things. If I need to do stuff to get stronger, then I will do extra things. But I'm normally just trying to keep the story flowing and try and experience the game in a manner that shows the pacing as best as possible, as that's something I really consider when I'm reviewing a video game as I'm playing it, is like how the pacing works out. And if I'm over exploring or like looking for every little nook and cranny kind of secret, that it really it pulls you out of the pacing of the game. And I think that that's something that a lot of people don't consider when they're trying a game out that has a lot of open worldness or a lot of collectathonness to it. Is you don't have to grab everything to experience the game the first time. You can save that for later dates. And it applies really well to what I'm doing, because this time for the game I'm revisiting, it's Skyward Sword, which in another Legend of Zelda game from that era, obviously a little bit younger, as it's the I think that's the last Wii Zelda game. I don't believe they did a dual release for the next Zelda release, if I remember correctly. I don't think there was a Wii released Zelda title.
They did not. It was Skyward Sword.
Yeah, that's what I figured. So it's a pretty maligned Zelda title. The general consensus being that it's probably one of the things that caused the series to go off the rails, quote unquote. But revisiting it, all I'm seeing is the foundation for Breath of the Wild. There is so much of the heart of that game in Skyward Sword. You have the stamina, the stamina circle is established in Skyward Sword, and is used still pretty similarly in the newest releases. There is just the horizontal menuing that Zelda has kind of established now as their mainstay. You have a lot of that in there. You have the creation of additions to your potions. In this game, you collect bugs and other items, and in different combinations, you can use those to make your generic Zelda potion stronger. They added a few extra potions in the game, like they have like an oxygen potion and a shield replenishing potion that doesn't carry as often into the other games, but it's still that foundation of like adding that to the exploration and rewarding you for it, that pretty much every Zelda game since has used in some form or function. And it's just, the game is so clean and crisp. I really don't get why everyone's so against it, other than the fact that the series is kind of, I want to say it's played out at that point, but a lot of people had kind of gotten used to the Zelda formula and wanted to have more out of it, which is one of the reasons why Breath of the Wild is so popular, just because it's like a completely different take. But again, like, that take is only possible because Nintendo spent all the time in those previous titles working their way up to that point. It's not like they just completely wiped the table clean and started fresh. Like, there's a lot that was built upon from Skyward Sword that works into the newer games, and I feel like it needs more influential credit because of that, instead of just being like, oh, this is just crazy Wii Motion meme game, and it's just not very good or worth trying out if you haven't played it before. Not to mention, its soundtrack is incredibly good. Like, might be like top 3 Zelda soundtracks. Just so great, and like, I love playing the harp too. The harp is so fun, the way that they have you play it in that game. But I don't know if you guys have even played this one, what your thoughts are on it, but feel free to chime in.
You first or me, Brian?
I'll go first. So, funnily enough, Spencer, I never played this game on the Wii. I played it when it was remastered for Switch. I never owned it for Wii. And so the Switch version, so my experiences with this game are only going to be based on the Switch version. And I kind of wish I played the Wii version first, because the Switch version of this game, since motion controls are no longer a thing, Nintendo had to adapt the motion controls for the Wiimote to the Switch Joy-Cons with levels of success. That's probably the best thing. It's just levels of success. There was definitely hit or miss, which for me kind of...
The technology is not the same. Like,
yeah,
it's way less sensitive. It doesn't even make sense to map it motion-wise, because it's not... the sword fighting's so precise. It's crazy precise how it is. You have to be very clean with your movements. You can't just like swipe around and it's gonna like figure it out for you. Like, no, it's tracking you. It's really following your movements. And
since it was a later Wii game, I think that was using the Wii Motion Plus at that point, which allowed for that. Which allowed for that precise movement, which unfortunately for the Switch didn't really translate very well, and that sort of influenced my enjoyment of the game, because I could see very clearly that this was meant for motion controls, and very hit or miss on the Switch.
It was one of the games that shipped with the Wii Motion Plus. That's how I got the
Oh,
Wii
okay.
Motion Plus.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure the only game that came out before this with Wii Motion Plus was like a Wii Motion Plus specific like Wii Sports style game.
Yes. No, you're right.
I don't remember what it's called.
Wii Sports Resort.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah.
It was,
I believe that was the only title that released before it, because I was working at GameStop at the time, and I just got the pack-in one, the golden Wiimote.
Yes. Yep. But yeah, so I mean, unfortunately, because of how they translated the controls for Switch, that did impact my enjoyment of the game a bit. Because the story itself is pretty solid. I mean, because of the incredibly nebulous timelines that Nintendo dug themselves into with the Zelda series as a whole.
Ocarina, boo. Boo. Negative influential game, boo.
So if you are making a game that is supposed to function as the prequel to the entire series, there's going to be some expectation there. It's like, you are making this a foundational game for everything else in the series.
Yeah, the story acts as the Master Sword's origin.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Good luck. And so story-wise, it was pretty solid. I because I didn't play this initially when it came out on the Wii, I wasn't aware of any of the bullshit that it got from gamers afterward. So I'm a little disappointed, given that gamers treated it unfairly because it was, it was supposed to be a very pivotal game.
There was too much hate based on V, the like Navi style character who was like she was an AI of the sword, and she definitely comes out more often than you really need her to. Which made less sense because they implemented a feature where you could call her for advice whenever you wanted to, and yet she was constantly stopping your progress to tell you something that was pretty obvious to anyone over the age of 7 years old.
Yes.
So
people also made a way bigger deal than they should have about the motion controls.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's so clean. It's honestly, if it played like it did on the Switch, then I would understand the complaints, but it doesn't. With the Wii Motion Plus, it's amazing, and I get the frustration in the time because it's like, oh, now you have to buy this new Wiimote to do it, but like everyone that complained about that probably had like 4 or 5 Wiimotes already, and 15 nunchucks and 77 other Wii peripherals at that point, and we're just mad that they had to buy a 80-second one. Which, is fair. A lot of the games were predatory in that nature in the Wii era, but like at the same time, you the consumer need to like learn how to keep your wallet closed from time to time. Just saying.
Old man Spencer laying down the law here.
There's a lot of problem in the gaming industry with people who have a lack of control of their own spending and then blame the companies for that instead of just accepting some blame for not being like an adult about buying stuff that they don't really need, and then they blame the company when they buy it and it's not what they really want. It's like,
I agree with that, but I will say they have predatory practices and they should be called out for predatory practices.
For sure. This is not one of those instances, in my opinion.
I agree.
This is the difference in quality of motion capture between an original Wiimote and the Wii Motion Plus is drastically different, and I feel like this is kind of the Switch 2 kind of comparison in the sense of like people want to make it seem like it's a smaller gap in quality difference than it actually is.
Yeah. So for me, the only mainline Zelda game I skipped at the time was Wind Waker. So I played Skyward Sword when it came out, and I adore that game. So I'm nodding along with pretty much everything you said. Like, it is not a perfect game, but it is damn good.
I believe that it's the best 3D Zelda game until the Switch games, which I've only watched. I haven't played myself, so I haven't fully reviewed them in my mind, so I don't like putting them on the list because I've only seen Danny play them, which, is a way to experience it, but a game like that, you need to experience it yourself to really have the full take.
Yeah, you really do.
I personally prefer Twilight Princess, but that's more for I really resonate with the story stuff in Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, but Skyward Sword is absolutely up there. Like, it is wonderful. You want to say something? Sorry.
I was going to say, if you take the dog out of that game, I might like it, but...
Okay.
every second of wolf play makes me want to just retch. Okay. But that's another another topic for another day. You don't need to go too far down that rabbit hole.
I will say, I never even I know how connected Skyward Sword is to the Wild era of games. Like, Wild era references Skyward Sword more than any other Zelda has, and honestly probably more than it does any other Zelda, period. But I never really thought of, a bunch of the Wild stuff started in Skyward Sword. It was kind of like a half step. Like, they weren't quite at the point to do an open world Zelda, but they were definitely taking the steps that would lead them there. And that's kind of fascinating to me. it puts the game in a different perspective than I had originally thought of it.
Yeah, because I had just like right before I started this game, I had been watching Danny play through both back to back, like so like not the whole game, because there's a lot of dead time in Breath of the Wild style games for a viewer, so I'd let her do her own thing for a few hours, and then if something interesting was happening, she'd call me or I'd pop in from time to time. But like watching those two, and then I had played Minish Cap, which was the other end of the spectrum. I felt like that game was lacking a lot in comparison, but I don't want to talk too much about that one. And then I played this to kind of be like, okay, this is all the Zelda I'm going to be able to take for a while, so let me play this, because I had been thinking about it for a while and hadn't gotten back to it yet, and I hadn't finished it on hero mode before, so that's why I'm playing it on hero mode. For those of you who don't know, they make it so that you can't pick up hearts and heart flowers or something in that game, which grow instead of grass in some places, and there's basically no real way to replenish your hearts except for potions, and they make these like stools that you can sit on that give you a break, which replenish your health, which is another thing that the game establishes that is used in further Zelda takes up into and including Echoes of Wisdom, which instead replaces that with a bed, which is amazing.
I agree. I will say, because you mentioned it earlier, one thing that I know I feel very differently about than a lot of people when it comes to Skyward Sword is I really liked Faye as a character, or Fee, or however you want to pronounce it. I do know that she does pop up too often. I will agree with that. But like, I really liked your little android girl who's your sword. Like, she's awesome. And when her noise goes off in Breath of the Wild at one point, I fangirled when I heard that. Because she has a very distinctive noise when she comes out when she's doing a thing, and it's like you can't mistake it.
Yeah, it's a very unique sound for sure. The other Wii game that I'm playing, which is new to me, I've never played anything even touching this series before, is Xenoblade Chronicles 1, which also is a Wii game, and is $30 cheaper than the Switch game. So I was like, yeah, I'll try it on the Wii. Why not? And it's a really interesting juxtapose game to play in, like, parallel to Skyward Sword, because they came out roughly around the same time. It's like about a year's difference from what I'm seeing. June 10th, 2010 for Xenoblade, and then November something, depending on where you are in the world, 2011. So about a year and a half difference in time. But Xenoblade is such a it's a JRPG, yes, but it's also very unique. And I was interested in it. You know me. I see Mitsuda and I'm just like,
yep,
full sprint, face first into the wall, like Wile E. Coyote. For anything he's even involved in a little. And
this is my game. It was made for me.
Yeah, he's just doing the credits song, so like it's not like he's like all over the soundtrack, but the other people involved with the soundtrack just happen to be like Yoko Shimomura level.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, oh no, don't do this to me, game. You've tricked me. What happened? No. It's crazy too, because the first zone you start out in, Colony 9, is like this amazing. The daytime theme for it is amazing. And the other part of the music that's crazy for this game is every area has a night and daytime theme that are actually very different, because a lot of the time you'll have games that have like a theme, and then like for Legend of Zelda, for example, they have a lot of like nighttime, daytime themed stuff, but it's like they like change a little bit where they'll like lower the volume on like one instrument, and that's the main difference, or something like that. But this is like an entirely different song that has like they share something, but it's very different. And it's there's just so much music. It's crazy. Like every new zone, you're like, oh, let me sit down for 5 minutes and let this tune play because I have to hear it and be focused on it. And the story, I don't want to get too deep into the spoilers because this game is super intense with spoiler stuff, and you do not want to be spoiled on any of it. So I don't want to talk too much about like specifics in the story. But man, it's like so intense, and I just want to keep moving the story along, but you can't because you got 80 fucking million side quests. Like every person in this game is like, hey, I can't do this thing. Can you help me, please? It's like the memeiest meme about like every RPG side quest meme you can think of is in this game. It's insane. Like everyone's so helpless. It's
How
like
do
it's
you
beyond.
function?
Yeah, it's like, exactly like, well, you know what? I'm just gonna let the world destroy itself because at this point, you guys can barely. I'm waiting for the like, hi, can you help me wipe my grandpa's ass side quest? I'm waiting for it. It's gonna happen.
To quote you earlier, remember, you don't have to do everything your first playthrough.
Oh, I know, but
But it's
the way
so
the
tempting
game
in
works.
that game. It is so tempting in that game, though.
Yeah, well, you have to though, because this game is so much like Chrono Trigger in sense of like positioning and field map and all your guys you see at all times. And I love that. Like, dude, like the first combat, I was like, oh, this is like how Chrono Trigger should be if they remake it. Like, I would want that kind of style of battle. I think it would translate really well. It would be great, but that's never going to happen because this is not a Square Enix property. So, you know, rip to that fun. But no, the combat's fantastic. I love how the arts work and how each character has a completely different style of play. It's not even like you play everybody the same way in terms of how you click the buttons. Like, no, like everybody has a super unique style, and you only get 3 slots. So like your team building is super important, and it matters, but doesn't matter at the same time because you can still minus any Monado required shenanigans, which once you get one of the later party members, it spreads that out a little bit. But usually when you're facing off against Mechon, you kind of need to have the Monado in the party.
Yes,
which
you
is
do.
the sword of the game, so to speak. But yeah, your guys' thoughts. I'm still playing it, so I haven't finished it yet. I don't have any final thoughts on the game yet, but I'm just like, I'm really enjoying it. It's a lot of fun, and it's probably going to be a top 20 game for me if it keeps going this way at minimum, if not higher.
Let me go first this time, Brian.
Go ahead.
So, because this is going to be quick. I have not played any of the series, including this one, and you've made it sound so good that this might end up on my I'm disappointed because it's been hyped too much. I'm joking. But you have very much piqued my interest.
I'm gonna build an escape room where you have to beat RE4 5 times to be able to get out of it, and you're just gonna wake up in it one day, and it's just gonna be great.
Oh no! But I do already own this game.
Of course you do.
Are you like the Switch version or the
Switch? The Switch.
Okay, because the one thing that I am personally suffering with this game, and this is probably just because I'm playing it on a CRT specifically, but some of the text is kind of blurry and hard to read, which it's like a font issue more so than anything else. So I feel like if I was probably playing it on a like more modern monitor, it might be a little bit better looking, but the Switch version is probably not dealing with any of that based on everything I've looked at online.
Yeah, I played the original. Keep going, Veronica.
Oh, sorry. No, you go ahead first. You go.
No. I have a chunk of stuff.
Oh, okay. Just to answer what you said. I did end up owning it on the Wii. But I ended up selling all of my Wii stuff and switching it to different consoles. So I sold the Wii version and got myself the Switch version.
Yeah, I mean that's what I did as well. But I mean I've played So Spencer, because this is in the big Xeno umbrella. Have you played any have you ever played any of the Xeno games before it? So Xenogears or Xenosaga?
No, I have never owned a PS1 until like much later in life. So like everything PS1 era, I am just super green on. I have maybe like 10. The first time I played FF7 was like 2014. And that's like the first PS1 game I played that wasn't like playing RE2 at my friend's house back when that was a thing. That's what got me into the RE series as well. But I didn't own it. I was just playing it at a friend's house, and we would, that game's pretty short. You could blow through that in an afternoon when it's gross out. So
I did play Xenoblade, and I have seen a friend of mine play Xenogears, which I hear is almost the same as actually playing it because it's just a movie, right?
Oh, yeah, totally, absolutely.
boo, boo.
Okay.
Get off the internet, boo.
Okay, bye.
That'll do it. Thanks very much, everyone. That's no. I was just curious because I have played Xenogears and the Xenosaga trilogy. So I was curious about Xenoblade. I also wanted to know. I'm like, okay, it's being made by the same person, Tetsuya Takahashi, I believe, and I'm just like, oh no, how much philosophical, psychological, how much Jungian psychology is going to get thrown into this game? And I found that I'm like, holy crap, I understand what the hell's going on. That's weird for a Xeno game. But I was blown away just by how gorgeous everything was. I mean, side quests aside, Spencer, just the world itself is beautiful. Like,
yeah, you're basically, to explain the like opening, there's two giant mechs that like, and by giant I mean like kaiju size mechs that are like basically pseudo gods that are fighting each other on this, like, I guess it's like a watery plane or something. It's not really super clear. It looks like kind of water in the cutscene, but either way. And they end up like mortally wounding each other with like a, Shogun style, like equal hitting at the same time kind of attack, and then they just go dormant. And then many years later, life forms grow on both of these mechs, and then the game is based off these people.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So
it's
so
it is gorgeous. I actually was playing this side quest that requires you to change the weather to shooting stars in the Aerith Sea, and it was amazing. I was like, I was blown away. I was like, this is on a Wii? Like, wow. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I mean, I have it for Switch as well.
One of the only things I knew about, and I don't even know it's the first game, but you make it sound like it might be, that civilization is built on giant kaiju. Like, that's one of the only things that I know about any game in the series.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's I'm looking forward to revisiting it on the Switch. Because this was a lot of fun. It was a long game, but it's a lot. I mean, as all of the Xeno games are. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Because Spencer and I could absolutely ruin it for everybody. And
I can take my headphones out if you guys want to spoil yourselves.
It's not needed.
No, we have to do a full episode. Yeah, honestly,
it's a long game.
Like I'm getting close to 70 hours in, and I probably have another like 20. And this is me again, only doing side quests because my characters aren't a high enough level to fight the next boss fight. So I fight it, get wiped. I'm like, all right, I got to go do some side quests to get my levels up. Otherwise, I'm just going to be raw grinding, which is way less boring, or way more boring rather.
So just to give you some idea of how long, according to How Long to Beat,
I'm gonna guess 150 hours.
Completionist for the so you've got the Switch version. Completionist is about 140 hours. On the Wii version, it's about 160. But the average length of play is between 90 and 95 hours.
Oh yeah.
If you were doing just the story alone, it's 70 hours. Between 65 and 70. So, it's a long game. If this was a PlayStation game, this would definitely be a 4-discer.
They
Well,
couldn't.
if you
It's
guys
too pretty. It's way too pretty.
It's way too
They
pretty.
couldn't pull this off on a PlayStation. Even on PS2, this wouldn't look as good. This is like one of the games that I feel like really shows what the Wii is capable of. Now, granted, GameCube taped together memes, but like, it's still capable of doing some really gorgeous stuff.
Yeah, it really is. So.
Well, if you guys want to do an episode on it, give me like 6 months notice and I'll make sure I finish it.
I hope to have beaten the game before my birthday, but we'll see.
All right.
I've got some stuff coming up, so maybe not, but that's kind of my goal, is to have it done by then, and then I can jump into something else, hopefully shorter.
But yes. Anything else you wanted to say about either of those games?
Nope, that pretty much is that's all. I just wanted to talk about some fun stuff I was playing in the moment.
Not a problem. And we are about an hour in, so we're gonna take a break here, and then we're gonna go into the thing that I want to chat about, which is we're gonna talk a little history. So that is
a retro episode today.
we're going to talk a little history, and we're going to blend everything together to wrap it up. That's going to be what I'm going to be talking about. So we'll take a break. We'll cut out. You have a few minutes of nice music to listen to, and you are all listening to our free play episode here on DLC. See you on the other side of the break. We're back. Welcome back to the DLC podcast. We are all still here. We have not run off to grab our collective Wiis to play Skyward Sword and Xenoblade and all of that. Although the temptation is there. I will say the temptation is there. We were good. We didn't spoil Xenoblade for you, so, you know. turn this episode off, go play Xenoblade, and then come back here.
Okay, bye, guys.
Bye! All right, that'll do it. This episode of Downloadable Content was brought to you. No. So I did not anticipate the episode to dovetail as well as it has, because the thing that I want to talk about involves some evolutionary history. So, and this, once again, as this I started thinking about this reading another article from Edge magazine. The article itself was specifically talking about like the different handheld consoles that have become basically all the rage since Switch and the Steam Deck came out. Because now you have other competitors like the Asus ROG X,
which is going to become the Xbox handheld.
Yeah, and all the other ones that are currently being created, and that got me thinking. Like, so until really the original Switch came out, the way we consumed video games was basically along three distinct lines. You had PC, you had your standard television consoles, and you had handhelds like Game Boy, DS, 3DS, etc. But now, basically, since the Switch, we now have the Steam Deck, and so now we have the lines have been blurred, the streams have been crossed. You can now play games that would have been normally reserved for PC and TV consoles. You can now play those types of quality games on a handheld, on Switch or Steam Deck or what have you. And so that got me thinking, like, because all of us are in our 40s, or approaching 40, we have seen this evolution as we've now gone from these three distinct ways of consuming games to now having the ability to play those high quality games right in the palm of your hand. And I was reading some other article, I think it was on Kotaku or something, and there was some of the comments, again, very rational discourse taking place in an internet comment section.
There's your first mistake. Go on.
Yeah, yes. Sarcasm, Spencer. That was sarcasm. Just how some gamers actually just really miss that separation of types of games, how we consumed games, because for some gamers, and even some companies, they just kind of thought that handheld was always going to be inferior to PCs and standard and the regular TV consoles. Like the games, like, because we would get, the one game that springs to mind is like Donkey Kong Country for the Super Nintendo. So, and Super Mario World for also Super Nintendo. And then we got versions on the Game Boy that could probably have been seen. Some people saw that they were lesser versions of the same game, like Donkey Kong Land, Super Mario Land. And I've always felt kind of the opposite. Like, yes, you have your
Link's Awakening is one of the best. Link.
I'm getting to that point. Like, I was always under the opinion, and I still have this opinion, that there's not. Why are we making competition out of these three separate lines of games? Because, okay, yeah, your PC and your TV consoles are always going to boast like superior graphical quality, but in terms of raw experience and just fun, you could have just as much fun playing a handheld as you could a PC or a regular console game. I mean, think of all of the things that we had on handhelds that were their own thing and that lived and thrived on handhelds. Link's Awakening, Pokemon, Kirby. Kirby started life as a handheld thing, and just myriad other games out there that were just as enjoyable on handhelds than they did on consoles. But now that we have melded all three into devices like the Steam Deck and the Switch, I kind of feel that there's no, something's been lost. Something has been lost. I mean, yes, this is something that the industry has been building to for decades. The ability to be able to play your big AAA games in the palm of your hand. But because all of us have been around watching all this evolve in front of us, I almost feel that we've lost a little bit just in the name of progress, as you will. So I was curious to see where we were on that.
I will point out one thing from your whole thing. I do want to point out that the Sega Nomad existed, which was kind of the predecessor to all of this.
Yes, we had handhelds that tried to do that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But
because it just straight up played Sega Genesis games.
Yes, it absolutely did. And I actually made a comment on Facebook recently, something to that effect. It wasn't the Nomad, but I said, I'm seeing that. I said something along the lines of like, with all of these, now that you can play these AAA games, these big games on these small devices, Sega's sitting here wondering, damn, we were 35 years too early.
Yeah, exactly.
That's their MO.
Yes,
it really is. I will say, I'm a little mixed on this, in that I agree, we lost something, and we lost something special when we lost dedicated handhelds. But also, for me personally, I have been able to play more video games since getting the Switch and the Switch became my favorite console of all time when I got it. And then the Steam Deck became my favorite console of all time when I got that. Because it is like pulling teeth to get me to sit in front of a TV to play a game.
Mm-hmm.
I am so much more of a handheld gamer. So once I got a handheld way of playing these games, holy crap, I was off to the races. I finished 2 or 3 times as many games the first year I got my Switch as I did the previous year. So, it's a huge benefit for me personally. But for the industry, absolutely I think we lost something, because way back when, NES, Genesis, not the early years of gaming, but you know what I mean.
Our early years of gaming.
Yes, our early years of gaming. It was very much a Wild West. You were having small teams of 2 to 20 people who were making these games, cranking them out. They didn't have a lot of solid genres. They had some. You had platformers, but they were being very creative. They were trying new things. They were doing new things. And the farther we go, the bigger the teams got, the bigger the risk got, the more money had to be put into them. And once you reach the PlayStation era and going onward, it just gets more. But we still had handhelds, which were doing the same thing. They were still smaller teams for less money that could take more risks. And they had to take those risks because they have to try to go onto a lesser piece of hardware and make it something that appeals to the current audience. And you would get crazy stuff on handhelds because of that. In many ways, it was the continuation of that Wild West era of gaming. And the death of the dedicated handheld is finally the death of that era. And we can still see that. We can still see similar things in the indie space. But in the console market, that's gone.
All right, Spencer,
I think it's just the inevitable progression of the industry towards homogenization. That's what a big part of the consumer base wants. You see all these outcries of oh, I just want Steam. Just give me Steam. I wish Nintendo just did third party and it was available on Steam. Sony and Microsoft are working their way towards that anyways. Why don't we just all have it on one system? And, that's obviously a monopoly, which is the worst thing for any industry at any point. And this is an unfortunate loss, and absolutely will stagnate the industry. We all probably have games that we feel like, despite being available on every console, is best on a handheld. Like for me, Shovel Knight on my 3DS is the best way to play that game. You can't tell me otherwise. And like there's just like The World Ends With You. The DS version of The World Ends With You is like 5 million times better than the re-release on the Switch. That it's irrelevant. It's honestly irrelevant, and it's sad that people have only experienced it on the Switch. And like you had said, like it's gone. It's done. Like we're not going back. Like the Switch is so successful. It's just not even, especially with the Switch 2 sales that have already happened. Like nope.
We're never going to see a dedicated handheld.
Yeah, like maybe if the industry survives another like 2 or 3 generations, we might get like a resurgence of the handheld as like a retro thing because people want to have those retro games or something. But
if Polaroid can do it, so can the video game market.
Even if it does bring it back as a little niche thing like that, a dedicated handheld being one of the pillars of the gaming industry, I think that is a genie that has been let out that we're never getting back in the bottle. I don't see it ever, even if we get a dedicated handheld again, we're never going to get reaching the prominence that they once were.
I think if one...
But I'd love to be wrong.
I was going to say, I think if one of the retro handhelds that is like an all-in-one device, if one of those can like figure out a way to like really grab hold of like a vast base of the people who play that style of system, there's a chance that it can be like springboarded off of that. But I think at this point, because there's so many of them and they're all just like taking their little bits and pieces of the player base with them, and there's not like a definitive one that is just like leagues better. There's not like a Steam Deck per se for those kind of retro handheld, like older system replayable emulators. I'm gonna have to agree. I just don't see a way for the handheld to like legitimately come back.
And the problem is, for any game that would be like a focus for a handheld like that, there's almost no reason for it to be exclusive. Like, no indie place is going to put it on the dedicated handheld and not also put it on Steam. As much as like it would be cool, like they need the money to survive, and they're going to that's going to make them more money. And that's kind of the issue here. Is I think the only way for a dedicated handheld to exist again is for one of the big 3, or soon big 2, to do that, and I don't see that happening.
Yeah, not in that manner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like right now the only way, if you wanted to have it like a designated, like an actual dedicated handheld to play those handheld games, I think the only way that you can do it really now is via, 3D printing, custom building. It's making kits. That's what I was going for.
Turning your RetroPie into a handheld.
Yes, turning your RetroPie into a handheld, and the way to do that exists. And I know somebody who actually has it looks like a Game Boy, but in the case is a Linux system. It's emulation station, basically.
I didn't end up doing it, but for a while I wanted to make myself my own Game Girl, which is one of the ones you can 3D print.
Mm-hmm.
Which, like I said, I wanted to do that a while ago, but then the Steam Deck came out and made it so I didn't need to do that anymore.
Basically. And
yeah, it's just the issue is that is too niche to be, because like the real way to get a handheld like that back into the market is to have something that's exclusive, that is done by a studio that has prominence, and not an indie studio that needs the money. So the only way I see this working out is if the triple and quadruple A industry completely crumbles to the point where like it's not viable for anybody to make those kind of games, and you have to have these studios that have been purchased get broken off and get shut down, and then those people that work in those studios, instead of going back to Microsoft, going back to Sony and being like, please give me a job, they just have to do it on their own, and maybe they form themselves a AA studio per se, and they can afford to, because of their expertise, they're not newer indie developers who only have like a couple of games under their belt. They have years of experience making like the greatest quality of games. They might be able to, you know, start up on a handheld with a handheld dedicated game to be like, here's what we can do, and then go from there. But that's...
It sounds like you're predicting a new video game crash.
Oh, it's definitely going to happen between the market, like the regular economy, and the way that gaming, you know, like Microsoft just laid off 9,000 more freaking people. Like, it was like a dozen studios got shut down, like multiple canceled games that were close to completion, that had like actual gameplay released in a trailer for people to look at, that got canceled. Like, we're not talking about games that were like pre-production or like early dev pre-alpha stuff. Like, this is stuff where the games had years of development put in, and they were like, we can make more money by WBing this crap.
Yeah,
that could be a whole nother topic.
Yeah, and also, the more AI slop gets shoveled out there, the more that just hastens the inevitable crash. So
the discoverability problem is already terrible in the console market.
Yeah,
Steam is the only one that seems to have at least somewhat dealt with the discoverability problem of weeding out the slop.
Yeah, but steering back a minute,
yeah,
I just because now everything has melded into just one, essentially, because you can now play PC games and on these handhelds. I just some of my most fun experiences playing video games were on handhelds, and they had a certain look and a certain feel. Again, we're not talking inferior in quotes to the consoles or the PC, but they're on like Golden Sun, one of my favorite. Golden Sun, yes! One of my favorite RPGs that was on the Game Boy Advance, and like we don't have outside of the indie studios, we don't have games that look like that anymore or feel like that, that are meant for handhelds. And
yeah, I will argue there are indie titles that yes are on Steam, but feel right on a handheld. Hollow Knight feels right on a handheld.
I would imagine most platformers would probably fit that.
Yeah, like I played that on my Switch, and I'll be honest, I feel like I got a better experience playing it as a handheld than I would have on my TV, because it feels like that kind of game.
And then that's fine, and it's one of those things where it's just, I mean, now if you want to have that experience of playing like a designated handheld game, I mean, yes, emulation is always going to be up there, but I mean, if you had a Nintendo Switch, you could pay the $20 a year for the online service, and you can get those Game Boy games and whatever. But I mean, like Virtual Console, if you remember, for the Wii, you could get Master System games, basically Game Gear games that you could play on the thing. But I know part of my feeling is just wistful nostalgia, because also the battery life on a lot of these handhelds suck. A lot of the battery life on these handhelds, I just immediately think of Game Gear. I immediately think of the 6 AA's that the Game Gear would drink for breakfast, and also. So like
and we didn't have rechargeable batteries.
I mean, we did. I remember the amount of times.
I guess I was like, I did not have rechargeable batteries.
The amount of times I would go to Radio Shack to buy. Speaking.
Like, I know they existed.
Yeah, I said Radio Shack. Everyone take some ibuprofen right now.
What's that?
What's that? Just like most of Veronica, I know you just said most of your gameplay is you're a handheld player predominantly.
Yes.
The Switch for me is mostly hooked up to my TV. I still treat my Switch as a traditional TV console, and part of the reason for that is because I feel that the battery life on a Switch is too short. Like, I can't sit on a couch with my Switch for 6, 7, 8 hours at a stretch. The battery life won't do that. Whereas I could do that on a Game Boy Advance, a 3D. I could do that. Mm-hmm. I can't do that on the Steam Deck or the Switch. Or
That's
like,
fair.
I would probably appreciate the handheld. I'd probably be more of a handheld gamer if the battery life on these things didn't suck. And that's because the games that are being released on it require more power. They require more RAM. They require more graphical fidelity capability.
I will agree with the Switch. I will at least say with the Steam Deck, you can throttle it. You can throttle in basically every way. If you're playing a low enough, an easy enough game, like if you're doing an emulator or you're doing something that's a lower quality indie game, a less powerful indie game, you can double or triple the life of a Steam Deck.
Okay.
Just by throttling stuff. Like it when I'm doing like a really, really intensive 3D game, it might get 3 hours of life. I can get 12 out of a smaller indie game or an emulated game.
All right. I actually didn't know that about the Steam Deck because I don't own one yet. Yeah.
You might as well wait until whatever second iteration that has to keep up with the Switch 2 that's inevitably coming.
Oh, so the one I won't be able to afford.
Yeah.
No, it will not be. I guarantee you, it will not be less than the Switch 2 at launch. That's for sure.
I know that. It's just, but just that is part of the reason why I haven't really fully jumped on board with the idea of, oh, this TV console I can also play in my hands, because I don't get the same experience. I can't binge game. Like, I can't do that the way I used to be able to on even PSP. I used to be able to just lie in bed for like 4 or 5 hours at a stretch playing like...
Well, yeah, because if you remove the game out of the system, it breaks the UMD case and then you can't use it anymore. So yeah, you gotta play it all in one go.
Single-use games. I love them.
Oh, well done.
Disposable.
Well done, Spencer.
Totally good.
Well done. So, I mean, yes, to your point, Spencer, I mean, yes, a lot of gamers want that homogenation. Why can't we just have everything on one? Why do we have to spend so many hundreds or thousands of dollars on multiple different consoles or PC builds when we can just have it all on one? There is a financial appeal to that. Absolutely. I understand that. I don't know. I feel that, I mean, maybe it's because I'm, getting old and jaded, but it's like, the youth today don't know what they want, but that's...
Oh, I mean, the same people that I hear complaining about how, like, we need to have all the companies competing with each other, but then in the next breath, I hear them talk about how every game should be cross-platform, and they don't understand why Nintendo just holds stuff on the Switch. And I go, you want competition, but you don't want exclusives. I don't know if you know how video games work.
Question marks.
Yeah, like, it is perfectly fine to have the thing of, you don't think that games should be exclusive. But you can't go, I want these companies to compete and not have exclusives, because that's the only way that the companies competing actually matters.
You would think that people staring at their Steam libraries of like thousands of games, they would just come to the realization that you're never going to play everything. Like FOMO's irrelevant because the saturation level of the amount of games that come out like every day, literally. makes it so you're going to not be able to play a game, and that's okay.
Right.
It's okay. It's okay. Just because you have 50 million games, like the access to that many, doesn't mean you have to play 50 million games.
No,
And,
but
like,
then
that's just-
I have a lot of friends who are like, they might play 4 or 5 games a year. Like, they're not adding tons of games to their backlog the way we are. And for them, it's, well, there's 4 games a year I want to play, and one is on Xbox, one is on PlayStation, one is on Switch, and one is on PC. And it's like, they go, I can't justify having every system for one game, but those are the games they want to play, and that's why they're frustrated by exclusives. I feel like it's the people who are more invested in the hobby, like the 3 of us, that are spending lots of money on, like, we play a lot of games, that we're like, oh, exclusives are exclusives. Like, it's a thing. Maybe I don't get to that game for a while until, you know, that's a previous gen hardware and I can get it for cheaper.
Yeah.
But
unless it's Nintendo, but go on.
yes, unless it's a Nintendo, then you get it for $10 cheaper, maybe. But when you get way less games and you want to be part of the conversation, because a lot of this is like, we don't really think about it this way, because I don't think any of the 3 of us play a lot of like day 1 releases, but it's a social thing for a lot of people. When all of their friends are talking about a specific big release, they want to be part of that conversation. And, like, that's valid. Like, that is what video games are for a lot of people. And that's where the exclusives become an issue for them. I don't fully agree with it, because I think exclusives are good for the industry, at least in general. At least first-party exclusives are. But I understand why.
I mean, for a while...
Yeah, I was just going back to what Brian was saying about, like, using the Switch as, like, a handheld versus a, like, TV console. For me, it's, like, game dependent. Because, like, when I play Pokemon, I'm always handheld. I'm so rarely putting that into the dock. And, like, even if the TV's open and, like, Danny's not using it, I'm probably not using that. But, like, when I played, like, Neo 12E, that was in the dock. I didn't play that handheld ever. No way. That's a TV game right there. And I think that's the real, like, usefulness that at least Nintendo is taking advantage of with their dock, is they do have some variety of games that play better on the handheld and some that play better on the TV. And
one thing I hope the Steam Deck learns is to include a dock with it, because I have a dock for my Steam Deck, so Deja can play the games on it easier. I think if they included a dock, that would drastically increase their reach with it.
So they don't provide one at all, right? You're getting it third party?
No, they do sell their own dock.
It's
it is
sold
just
separately.
Not included with Steam Deck.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Scammers.
It is sold
I see.
separately.
They didn't have it originally. It came out about 6 months after the Steam Deck, which is probably why they didn't end up including it.
And even so, like, the Steam dock, just the dock is an extra $70 on top of whatever. Yeah.
It also did not work
Scammers.
super well when it came out. The third-party docks were better for the first, 2 years. Now the Steam dock does, it is good, but it was significantly worse than the third-party docks for a significant amount of time.
Yeah. But going back a few quantum leaps. No, actually, Spencer brought up a good point that I didn't even think about because again of our ages, there are games that it is game specific. You Spencer, you hit the nail on the head. Pokemon, because all 3 of us have had that experience of Pokemon being an exclusively handheld franchise. You know, starting with the original Game Boy. It would probably feel so weird to us to play it on the larger screen, to play it on the TV. And
Deja played Let's Go games on the TV, and I watched her play it. I mean, I played it myself as well, but when I watched her play it on the TV, and I felt uncomfortable because it's like that's not how you play Pokemon. But that's like she's a TV gamer. That's what she prefers.
But like, for example, I'll take a game like Skyrim. I'll use the Elder Scrolls Skyrim. Big, huge, expansive, open world game. That would feel to me so strange on a handheld because of the amount of detail in that game. I'm like, how? Like,
okay.
How?
Brian,
like,
I played because you can set up a way of streaming the PS5 to your Steam Deck.
Yes.
And I tried playing Forbidden West on there at one point. No, that needs to be on a TV.
Yeah.
It does not work as a handheld at all. Like, I'm a handheld person. It does not work as a handheld. That is a game you need a TV for. And
that is partially why that is partially the reason for my original thesis here, that like when you now combine all of those ways of consuming video games into just one, into that hybrid handheld / TV console, that is where that feeling of something's lost comes from. Because while we can play Horizon on a tiny screen and you know, with handheld controllers, man, that just feels weird. And it could entirely be generational. Like, if you were somebody who was come into video games, you know, just shy of the Switch, and so you didn't have 35 or so years of playing video games beforehand, you might not have this opinion at all. Because you wouldn't have that knowledge base. You would not have that knowledge base or that experience.
If, like, to give you the example, Deja has played more Pokemon since we've gotten the Switch than she did before. She did play them, she never got through them on the handhelds. Because she's not a handheld person. She prefers having it on the TV. So, by being able to put it on the TV, by giving the option of playing on the TV versus playing handheld, pleases both of us with the same games.
Fair point.
So, like, it is a big thing there where, like, if it's a game that feels like a platformer is almost always going to feel really good handheld. Like, it just feels good. But that's, like, that's for me. Mm-hmm. If for somebody else, they would just don't like handheld, they can play it on the TV, and that means all of us get to play. My personal worry is how cutting yet another place where games could be made with smaller teams and inexpensively hurts the industry. By losing that dedicated handheld market for consoles. Yes, we do still have the indie market, but Capcom is not going to be making indie titles. That their smaller teams are just either eliminated or made part of the larger teams. And that's the same for basically every company. So now you have less of a place for people to learn how to make, you know, double or triple A games before jumping into the A or double A games before they jump into triple A. And we lose out on a lot of experiences that we just won't see anymore.
Well, what I'm hoping, and again, this is all speculation.
Oh, yes.
Is that with so many of these massive failures where companies have bought the middle tier development studios, and by middle tier I mean like size and scope, not by like quality of game.
Yeah.
And then ended up having to lay them off because they couldn't recoup the payment basically from purchasing them because they made them do things that the teams weren't really supposed to be doing. I'm hoping that Nintendo's strategy gets copycatted. And because you see this with a lot of their non-main titles. So, for example, like with Retro Studios in the Prime series, or the studio's escaping me, but the studio did the Link's Awakening remake and then got handed Echoes of Wisdom, where instead of taking these development teams and demanding that they chip in on the AAA title, or are like expected to make a AAA title of their own, they instead like give them steps of progress to make. Yeah,
that was Grezzo that did the game.
I got it. Thank you. It's like incremental steps. You're like, okay, first let's give you a remake, and then let's give you a game of your own, and then after that we can give you a bigger budget with more scope. Instead of throwing like all this money around and then not getting it back, because obviously you're spending so much money on these development teams and then expecting to turn it around with one game, which is not feasible anymore. There's too much saturation. There's just too many games. It's basically impossible, unless you're Rockstar with GTA, to make a game that you like know is going to get the return on investment anymore when you're making the scope and size that they're making.
So make smaller games.
Yes, please.
Yeah, not every game has to be a big budget, success or failure. Yeah.
Like, there's a place for big open world games like Horizon, but that doesn't need to be every game. Not every Zelda needs to be Tears of the Kingdom. Like, and that's why I'm really glad we got Echoes of Wisdom. Like, there's places for these big, massive games and smaller ones, and we're seeing the scales tip too far in one direction, and it's gonna correct. Either the companies are going to end up correcting because they see the writing on the wall, or the industry will force them to correct when people's buying habits change. But it's going to change at some point. Because what's going on right now is unsustainable.
Crash, baby. We're almost there. Can't wait.
I'm
Spencer, harbinger of chaos over here.
I don't think we're going to end up getting the crash. I'm to be completely honest, I kind of see the video game industry as being something the US government will consider too large to fail and will get bailed out. So I don't think we will see a full crash, even if it got that bad. But honestly, I think we will see the industry change behavior before a major crash is necessary. It'll happen probably when you get one of the major studios declaring bankruptcy. Like, one of the ones that you think is too big to have that happen. When one goes down, that is going to wake up a lot of people in the industry. And we will probably see a lot of change pretty quickly. But I could be wrong, and either way, it's going to be dealt with eventually. It's just how much the industry has to go down in flames for it to happen.
All the way. Woo!
I mean, I've got a big enough backlog. I'll be good. So,
Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's the thing about your backlog and my backlog, Brian. We're going to be fine for years.
Well, assuming that your digital backlog doesn't get deleted when these companies go bankrupt, but that's a different tale.
That's fair point. That's kind of why I'm swinging back to getting physical media when and all possible. So, but yes. So
keep all your systems unplugged from the internet at all times going forward until you're actually using it.
Yep.
The end.
The end. Done.
I'd like to remind people, because a friend of mine did this with their entire collection, you can download offline installers for almost every game you own on Steam. My friend has like 8 external hard drives of their entire Steam collection.
Ooh.
And they'll never touch 77% of it. The end.
I'm not saying you're wrong, but those aren't getting removed from there. It doesn't matter if the servers go down when they got their installers.
We'll talk later. But yes, all right. Well, that was what I had, and we that took up a nice 40 minutes. So Yeah, I think I'm good. I'm good here. So unless any of you have any final thoughts on anything we've mentioned, then I'll wrap this one up.
Go play
As
Chrono
always,
Trigger.
it's a pleasure.
Go play Chrono Trigger. Go play Chrono Trigger. Yes, absolutely. Everyone, pause this episode. After you're done playing Xenoblade, stop this episode, go play Chrono Trigger, and then come back.
I mean, I suppose I'll add one and two. Go play Forbidden West. It's what I'm doing right now, and it is a blast.
In fact, go play every video game. Forget touching grass.
just
Just
do
play
them all.
video game. Just play video games. Don't touch grass.
You can go and get yourself a nice mouse pad. Just get grass, put it over it, and you can touch grass while playing the game.
There you go. Always thinking. There you go. That's.
Well, if you have your mobile handheld system, you could just sit in the grass and play your game for the 2 hours that the battery life lasts.
There you go. There you go.
Or you just get an extension cord outside and have your plug just plugged in.
Yeah, I'll just have a 30-foot extension cord just plugged through the window.
Yes.
Well,
Go sit in your garden, Brian.
go sit in my right. It's 95 degrees out. I'm in a polycule with all of my air conditioners right now. It's just no, absolutely not.
System melts to your hand directly.
Yeah, evil
Never
burning daystar. Just no, absolutely not. So, all right, my friends, if you have any thoughts, questions on this episode or any other episode of downloadable content, again, everything can be found on the website dlcpodcast.com. Click the feedback button. Let us know what you think. You can also give us ideas for future episodes, or check out our upcoming recordings if you want to be in on an episode as well. And again, every episode can also be found on Apple Podcasts, aka iTunes, as well as YouTube and Spotify. So there you have it. And all it remains for me to do is to thank Veronica and Spencer for being on this episode. And so until next time, I'm Brian. Have a good one, everybody.